One health check. 4 hours. Total peace of mind. Beacon Hospital's Health Check is Ireland's only advanced health screening programme with results delivered on the same day. This is modern medicine. This is Beacon Hospital. Book your Beacon Health Check today at beaconhospital.ie.
German dominance, true precision engineering, raw power. BMW has been one of the world-leading manufacturers since 1916, and here at Mondello Park, you can find out why. New to 2017, our BMW driving experience packages are the perfect opportunity to get behind the wheel of some of the best cars on the road in the form of the M2 Coupe or M4 Coupe. Simply pick your desired choice or drive both. Book today at mondellopark.ie.
So it's Formula Sheane, David Shane's creation, produced in Blaine Row in County Wicklow, 160 brake horsepower home-built single-seater. It's a very popular class on pole position. Already the champion this year, 111, David Parks. Alongside him is Richard Carney. Then it's Mark Dunleavy, Brian Harty, Paul McLaughlin, Charlie Lennon. Then it's John Lennon, Martin Rafferty, Leslie Shaw, James Sunderland and Raymond McKenna.
The revs are up. Will it be David Parks or Richard Carney? Richard Carney gets a very good start. David Parks comes back at him, and there's wheel to wheel as they go down to the first corner. But Mark Dunleavy also sticks his oar in there as he goes down the inside at Mobile. And will Mark Dunleavy be able to hold on from Richard Carney? Carney has the left-hander, but Dunleavy takes it in. Richard Carney is third, Brian Harty is fourth.
Elbows out for Dunleavy there, a little bit of a weave towards Carney to let him know he was coming in, but he was well ahead. A good run from him. Carney, of course, the classic Mondello thing, you challenge for the lead, you don't get it and you're driven wide, and that allows the third place man, if he times it correctly, to get up the inside. That's what happened. David Parks no doubt will get the head down. He's won the championship, he's on form, he's well able to drive these machines, and let's see how he goes. Watch out for the danger man, Matt, we can never discount him. 1, 2, 3, 4, let's talk to me, Brian Harty.
Yeah, Brian Harty there in fourth, and tucked in just behind Richard Carney. Mark Dunleavy there that elbows out as he went to the first corner and managed to annex that second place. But again, all of these guys dropping well back from David Parks as he heads down now to 7A and 7B. And Brian Harty with a move on there. Now with these single-seaters, they're lower than the saloons obviously, so they disappear really from our view down at 7A and 7B.
Great onboard shot now from Richard Carney, former saloon car star, but he's adapted really well to these single-seaters. He's chasing down this man, Mark Dunleavy now. The two cars very equal, Rover K-Series engines, all producing the same power and all sealed in this class.
Come back towards us then at irishferries.com corner and back up the hill up to Southside. And it's David Parks who leads by a goodly margin here on the opening lap.
Harty had been displaced, but he's back down the inside, a late move and takes that back, but he's lost a lot of time in that lap. So it looks like it's going to be spread out the front unless David Parks can really have a go at Dunleavy here. It's Parks, Dunleavy, Carney, Harty, McLaughlin, Charlie Lennon, Martin Rafferty, John Lennon, Leslie Shaw.
Paul McLaughlin there putting a good move on Brian Harty, but not able to make it stick. Harty well used to that, didn't mind him coming alongside. He got a better run out of the corner and was able to retake his fourth position. David Parks, meanwhile, is extending his lead now. In fact, all these three are extending their leads over Brian Harty, who's running in fourth. But he has been under some pressure from Paul McLaughlin, and in turn from Charlie Lennon. Then we have Leslie Shaw and John Lennon then is next up as they head out the country for the second time. Out Kennedy Rise, through the right-hander, then at Lola, and down that big long run down to 7A and 7B, otherwise known as Daly's Drift.
The right-hander out the back, a little bit spread out by Formula Sheane standards. David Parks' fastest lap last time round, 151.196, 1.2 seconds quicker than Dunleavy, and he leads by 1.6. Probably even more, but Carney has begun to latch onto the tail, and Hardy has got rid of McLaughlin. So the lap times will be interesting this time, Matt, when they come back to us.
Richard Carney there with a good run on that last lap, and that has closed him up closer to Mark Dunleavy.
Indeed he has, man. He's all over the curbs on the way out now. Carney with a big charge here. He wants that second place back. He qualified on the front row of the grid, and he will feel he can have a go at David Parks, but he's got to get by Dunleavy. And Dunleavy, a Formula V racer, very experienced and has driven beautifully all year in this Enda O'Connor run car. So he's not going to be a pushover, and Carney's going to have to drag something out of the bag here to try and grab that second place back. Great Dyson's all the way down the grid as ever in Formula Sheane. Charlie Lanane in there, his father John Lanane. That red car, Brian Harty, he's won more races at Mondello Park than anyone else, somewhere around 150 races and 10 championships, but an off-form day for him today.
Come back over the hill, and this time Richard Carney has got measurably closer to Mark Dunleavy, and in fact in doing that they've got a little bit away from Brian Harty, but Carney really is on a charge right now as he closes up, or attempts to close up, behind Mark Dunleavy.
And some smoke coming from the back of Brian Harty's car. That might explain why he's slightly off the pace today. Fourth place is not normally where you'd expect to find Brian Harty. And this second place battle is the one we're concentrating on at the moment now. The cars are so equal and Carney trying really hard. Certain places of the track he seems to be quicker, but Dunleavy not making any mistakes, or very few. Keeping one eye on the mirrors though, as we can see from his onboard. And Carney a little bit quicker, but then goes out over the curb, and that cost him that time again. So got some time in the brakes, but lost it on the exit of 7B there. Just a little bit of over-exuberance. Trying really hard, both of these drivers, on the limit. And both, of course, with one eye on Parks, who isn't that far in front. He's still doing nicely, Parks, but he's not really streaking away.
Richard Carney now with a real move on Mark Dunleavy. Dunleavy just about keeping ahead of him. Nothing in it between these two. A couple of car lengths as they go up to the final corner. David Parks out in front. Mark Dunleavy second. Richard Carney running in third. Brian Harty dropped now. He's in fourth, but quite a gap back.
Brian Harty out over the curbs though. He's still not giving up. He never gives up, Brian Harty. Very tenacious competitor. Very, very hard to beat. But as we said, obviously a problem today because he's not right at the front. Fourth place, still ahead of the rest, but he can't stay with these guys. And Carney still tries to close down as the Lanane cars come out onto the main straight. Leslie Shaw, all the rest coming down the main straight now. Mondello, we're on board now with Richard Carney, and he's trying really hard there. We're on board with Dunleavy, and he's got all the telemetry, very flash. Brake, throttle traces, everything on his onboard there. Enda O'Connor puts a lot into running this car, and it's definitely at least the equal of any other car in the grid. But Richard Carney trying really hard, and the ex-Barry Rabbit Leinster Trophy winning car now, and he's right out to that outside curve, as is Dunleavy. They're pushing so hard. These cars have an excess of power over grip, the Formula Sheane. Always makes them great to watch, and you've got to be on your tippy toes driving them. They're not perhaps as smooth as some other single seaters. They've got a lot of grip. They're noisy. They wheel spin a lot. They'll get sideways. So you've really got to be at the top of your game, and that's where Carney is now. Dunleavy's got away a little bit. Look at Carney late on the brakes down into 7A, drifting the car beautifully, standing on the throttle and almost steering the car with the throttle is Dunleavy as he tries to stay ahead. But Carney quicker, and he stays off the curb on the exit that time. He had a problem there before. And look how close he is now, closing in on Brains Benz right under the rear wing of Dunleavy's car. These two as one for second place. Dunleavy doesn't get out of shape, doesn't defend, or does he, as they head towards the long left turn? He does at the last minute, just covering the inside. That allows Carney to get a later turn in and get on the power a little bit earlier. And now the two cars are almost as one as they come through Paddock Corner. Brave stuff from both of them. Just a little lift to these cars, and then grab a gear on the exit up the centre of the road now. No gap down the inside, but Carney's an experienced Mondello man, and he tries to get a late apex, thinks about a switchback, doesn't go with it, and he is now tracking Dunleavy, and Dunleavy now beginning to look in those mirrors, as you can see. David Parks has a quick look in the mirrors and goes, that'll do me, thanks very much. Battle away, lads, while I ease away into the distance. Dunleavy a little bit late in the brakes, looks into the mirror, goes wide. Carney gets up the inside. They're side by side now, but the next one's a left-hander and just contained. Great replay action there, and Carney with a little bit of opposite lock and had to back out of it, but that's great stuff. And look in the mirrors, you can still see him behind Dunleavy there. Good stuff from these two guys, having a real go. Turn two, grabbing another gear, but Carney already all over the back of him. Didn't lose anything in that manoeuvre as they head out towards turn three. Through the first apex there, no difference. Hard on the brakes and down through the gears there for the second bit. And again, Dunleavy drifting the car beautifully. Great balance in that car, and it looks really, really good when he gets on the power and gets a little bit out of shape.
Domination map by David Parks. This one 47.6, fastest lap 48.4 for Dunleavy. So is he on a high from winning the championship, Matt?
Yeah, I think he's on something because he's certainly doing very well. I think the bit of a squabble between Mark Dunleavy and Richard Carney helps him a little bit. You think Carney has a bit more pace than Dunleavy if he could only just get by him. But as we said before, that's much easier said than done.
Yeah, Dunleavy a little bit off though. It's Parks in terms of lap times. He's way ahead there, isn't he? 47.6. I wonder what the lap record is. I should know really, but 47.6 is the fastest lap for Parks. 48.4 for Dunleavy. 48.1 for Carney. So it's definitely Parks Domination in this one. Park's still using a bit of curb on the way out of paddock, even though he's so far out in front, obviously enjoying himself. The battle should be joined in second place. 6 minutes to go on this one, and Dunleavy just holding off Carney, who's right with him on the brakes and tucked under his back wing as they both drift out of Southside corner. Up through the gears now, second, third, fourth, perhaps even into fifth. Great stuff from these cars, glorious sound as they go by us as well. Really loud, noisy cars, and as we said, more power than grip, which always makes them good to watch. A lot of chassis setup needed to nail the back of these cars down, to stop them drifting all the time and try and get some traction. Brian Harty unusually back in fourth place and not making any inroads on the cars in front. But Parks again is a second quicker than anybody on that lap. He's got no pressure. He's already won the championship. He won yesterday, but he wants to win this one today, quite obviously. And he is just banging in fastest lap after fastest lap. 1:47.7 last time round for him. And the gap now out to 3.7 seconds. So the order is David Parks, Mark Dunleavy, Richard Carney, Brian Harty, Paul McLaughlin, Charlie Lennon, Martin Rafferty, John Lennon, Leslie Shaw, James Sutherland and Raymond McKenna.
But out front, there's nobody to touch this man. 111, David Parks from County Clare. He's dominated proceedings this year. Comes from a great motorsporting family. He's the second generation. His father, Bob, raced for many years in Formula V. And David, of course, did a bit of Formula V as well. Now we're on board again with Richard Carney, still trying to have a go. And he does close in on the brakes there, but Dunleavy gets a good exit, gets the car set up and drifts by the apex and out to the curb. Dunleavy, that's kind of saving him a little bit on the run up the hill. Carney goes at him here again, as we saw on the brakes. And a beautiful drift again from Dunleavy now.
Well, Richard Carney, I think he's going to have to throw the kitchen sink at Mark Dunleavy if he thinks he's going to get by him. But he's tried every which way. He's about as close as you can be without a marriage license, and he still kind of managed to get by him. High and wide this time for Richard Carney. Tries to get the switch back down the inside. Just not near enough. Mark Dunleavy has that one covered too. But despite the close battle between these two, they're certainly not losing anything in terms of time.
That's the second time Dunleavy's gone in a little bit too late there and gone a little bit wide, and Carney just wasn't close enough through turn two now. A really challenging corner in these cars. Still called BOAC by some of the drivers in the paddock, a legacy of the British Airlines, BOAC Airlines sponsorship in the early 70s there. And down they go now to turn three, and still Carney trying on the brakes. Is there anything he can do, or will Dunleavy make another mistake? He seems to look in the mirrors at the braking zone down into turn one, and that sends him a little bit wide, but I'm sure he's not going to make that mistake a third time. Here they come down into Bridgestone corner, now the off-camber left-hander, and out onto the international circuit.
Well, just over 3 minutes left to run on this one. And certainly looking strong for David Parks, right from the pole position. He's led all the way, very solid performance. Put in a couple of good quick laps right at the start, opened that gap, and he's been able to maintain it since. Possibly helped by the squabble between Mark Dunleavy and Richard Carney there over second place. Dunleavy in second, and Carney would sincerely like to get by him and see if he can close up on David Parks up in front. Brian Harty having quite enough race by his standards. He's there in fourth, and quite a considerable gap back. Carney right in the wheel tracks now of Mark Dunleavy.
Got to be a move coming soon, Matt. He's been right with him since the second lap, and nothing really happens. So mind you, Dunleavy's just composed, centre of the road, not full defence, but just letting him know that I have that covered if you want to have a look at it. And there's a lovely setup on Dunleavy's car, drifts beautifully from the apex outwards, and Carney can't get a run on him despite having a better line on the way in. As I look to the inside, Carney back to the outside on the brakes down into mobile, but Dunleavy goes with him again. This time he's down the inside though. Carney with a last minute dive takes the place, beautifully done. Carney up to second place. So great stuff down the inside there, beautiful, just a last minute dive.
Yeah, if he didn't maintain it long enough, it was sure to happen. So he did it despite, now the cork is out of the bottle, but I think Parks is just too far ahead. Yeah, you can see Carney there, he's got the pace all right, but it's far too late. The gap is just too big to close it at this point. Dunleavy there defended as far as he possibly could, and in the end had to give best to Richard Carney.
Well, it was good stuff, Matt, because Carney went from the outside to the inside and then back to the outside again, and then last minute dive down the inside. So a cracking Mondello Park classic manoeuvre by Richard Carney. Didn't look like he was shaping up for it. He's getting away already. This could be a quick lap from Carney now.
Yeah, we should see him punch in. He might get fastest lap, but there's just over a minute left, and I wonder if we get a further lap. I think we probably will. So here comes Parks. Clock working down. No, we will actually get it. 50 seconds to go, and we will get a further lap, I guess. So here comes David Parks. Sideways, he comes out a south side corner.
Good little lap from Carney though. Look how far ahead of Dunleavy he is inside a lap. Let's have a look at this. 48.2 that time for Parks. Can Carney match it? 48 dead, 2/10 quicker. It's not a whole lot with a 4.5 second lead, but it's still, he's quickest on that lap. Carney now, and that includes the move, of course, where he went down the inside, which won't have helped his lap time, but he's quicker than the leader. But the gap at 4.5 seconds, so this is their final lap. 38 seconds to go on the timer. It'll just go to final lap when that counts down, and we will be ready with the checkered flag. In fact, the man with the checkered flag is already down there.
Well, as he is, David Parks now comes through Bridgestone drive guard corner and heads out the country for the last time as he goes out Kennedy's Rise, out to Lola corner, then the right-hander down Daly's Drift. Very solid performance here from David Parks.
It is indeed, Matt, and we're getting used to these performances from this man. He's dominated this year, won the Northern Ireland Championship and the Southern Championship in car number 111. So David Parks is looking like he's heading for another win. On board again with Carney, up to second place. He'll be wondering, could he have caught David Parks? Started on the front row, but had to work to get back up to second place. But nobody touching David Parks. Now, Robbie Parks' brother will be delighted with this. Does a lot of work on the car for him and has guided Dave in his career so far. His father, Bob, no doubt will be looking down on him and delighted with this one. A great motorsporting dynasty, as we said, and not an apex missed right in there again for Parks. On the final lap, Carney still charging and easing away now from Dunleavy. So that looks like the way it's going to end, barring catastrophe. Parks stays off the curbs. He's very experienced. He can be aggressive when he has to, but not on the final lap, not at the biggest race meeting of the year. It looks like he's going to do the double in the vertical car. No problem at all. Celebratory drift out of the final corner for Parks. Be delighted with that lovely shot of the final two and that drift from Dunleavy again. Parks takes the win. Great stuff for vertical racing. Carney takes second after a good drive, and Dunleavy almost with him still in third place. So great stuff from Shane. The drivers pulling up alongside each other now in the slowdown lap. There's Carney. No doubt, big thumbs up. They all get on great, these guys. Thumbs up from Carney. Parks delighted. Another little drift just to celebrate the double win and the two championships. So it's Parks, Carney, Dunleavy, Harty, McLaughlin, Charlie Lanane and Martin Rafferty.
Started in third, finished third. Yeah, I got up in the second at the start, and I was trying to keep Richard behind me, trying to keep up with Dave as well. But I made a mistake going into turn one, and Richard just got by me. And then when he was by me, I just only had 2 laps to try and make it up. So it was unfortunate, but that's the way it is. It was a good race, though. Yeah, it was a good race, good weekend.
Richie, you had a good start. How did you find the race?
Yeah, got off the line pretty okay. I've had better starts, but got up alongside David. We had contact in turn one, which just drove me wide a little bit. No one's fault, these things happen. Again, I fought my way back through and got up by Mark in second. He just had that little bit too much of a gap to try fill in, and the laps were disappearing. So I'm happy enough. Disappointed I didn't win it, but if it wasn't me going to win it, I couldn't be any happier for David.
It was a good, enjoyable race. I got a clear run. I got a little tap in the back in the first corner, and I think everyone got a little bit tangled, and it gave me a breakaway, and I just kept my head down and just kept going. It was nice and grippy out there. So.
And how does it feel to win the Holmpatrick Trophy?
Oh, brilliant. It's been a great season, so yeah, this just tops it. Yeah, so delighted.